We bought a used truck and a used fifth wheel, and 1.5 weeks later started our full-time RV journey. Crazy, huh?
Absolutely.
So how much did it cost? Let's go down that road. Hello, faithful people. I'm Orleen.
I'm Gary, and we have been on the roads of faith for a whole year. And now we're going to share some information with you.
This is part one. We're going to talk about the expenses, the costs, how much we invested in all of this. So if you've been following our channel, you know that we didn't just make the decision to find a truck and an RV and head down the road a week and a half later. You know that we looked and looked and looked and looked and looked and looked and looked for months before. We actually started in October of 2016.
16, yeah.
And we didn't move in until July, the end of July of 2017. And then we started our journey August 3rd. We left Wisconsin.
Yes.
And then we went to my mom's in Rochester, Minnesota for a few days before we headed west on August 7th. We were going to buy a Class C motorhome because we thought that was going to be the best thing for us. And anyway, we couldn't find one in our price range, so we ended up with a truck and a fifth wheel. So now we're going to share with you how that's been working out for us and how much it cost.
Or a rough idea anyway.
Yeah. There's some things we may not share with you. No, I'm kidding. All right.
Okay.
All right. We bought a 1998 2500 Dodge Ram truck from an 85-year-old lady who used it to haul her fifth wheel. And then we got a 2000 Jayco
Eagle
fifth wheel.
Yes.
Yeah. It's 26 feet long, and we'll tell you a little bit more about that. The whole total that we had to spend was $15,000, and we were able to get the truck and the RV for just under $15,000.
Great start.
Yeah. So we thought.
Yes.
$15,000 was the very top of our budget. We have always lived in a parsonage, so we didn't have a house to sell like a lot of other people do who start this lifestyle. So that was it. That was all we had. I sold a lot of stuff from our belongings. Sold many things, quite a few things, and it built a nice hefty little emergency fund for us. So that was good. All right. So first, the truck. It was on Craigslist, right?
Yes.
Okay. And we paid $6,900 for it. And then we paid a little extra to get the fifth wheel hitch that she had and a toolbox that Gary's not crazy about.
Yeah, it's big. It's got lots of room for lots of stuff. It leaks and it stinks and
because it leaks.
It doesn't look good. So someday we want to trade that out and get rid of
that. Okay. So then the truck only had 64,000 miles on it, which we thought for 1998, wow, we're doing a good job here. But that kind of can be a word of warning, too. It means the truck hasn't been running a lot. It hasn't been moving a lot. It hasn't been going down the road a lot. It hasn't had a lot of miles put on it. So that isn't always a good thing.
So we picked up our truck and we're all excited heading back to Montello to continue with the process of...
Well, the next day we were supposed to go pick up the RV.
Yes. Getting our home and getting ready to leave. On the way back and pulled into a rest stop, came back to the truck, put it in reverse and it went clunk, clunk, clunk as I was backing out of this base, and it was shaking a little bit. So
it was louder than that.
Yeah, well, that's good. So we knew something wasn't right. So we were able to drive it back to Montello.
I was following behind in the van.
Yeah, and when we're driving ahead on the road, it was fine. There was no shaking or anything, so I was pretty sure we were going to make it back here. few days later, was able to get it into garage, get it checked over, and we found out that the differential was ruined, which we didn't help any, but it had happened before we picked it up. We just didn't detect it right away.
Yeah.
So
we had looked it over. I mean, we took it for a test drive. The interior was immaculate except for that funky smell, but other than that, but the outside, no body rust. I mean, it was really in good shape.
Yeah.
So
and of course, the deal was that you buy it and you own it, and there's no guarantees or warranties. It's a private party, and they didn't know about it, so would trust they didn't, and it just happened on the way back here. So we got the bid for it. It cost us $2,200 to get a replacement differential from California. Shipped it to the mechanic, and they put it together for us about a week and a half later, I think it was.
it took quite a while. It was a 2-week delay picking up our RV.
Yeah, so it was very frustrating, in a lot of ways. The wait time, the cost of it, suddenly we were over our budget considerably, getting into our comfortable little reserve fund, emergency fund.
But wait, it gets better. Okay, so then we found out the battery was old. Somehow somebody, the mechanic, I think, found the date or something on it that
I had it checked out because we were going to be on the road a lot, and it wasn't starting the best. It was working okay, but we better get it checked out, and they looked it over and they found a date on it that was about 14 years old. So we had that replaced.
That was $100. Then when we got to North Platte, Nebraska, Gary was really getting nervous about doing the mountains. We were on I-80 because the mountain passes were not as high an elevation.
Yeah.
But still, we hadn't driven it through the mountains yet, so Gary thought it'd
over
be a
the
good
last
idea.
day or so before we got to North Platte, coming to stops, the steering wheel was pulling a little bit to the right or the left, I'm not sure which. Not a real big problem as long as it's not a real grabbing pull. Anyway, there was a ridge forming on the brake cylinder.
This is all new to me. I didn't know about any of this. You just said you wanted to get new brakes. You thought it would be a good idea.
I thought it would be a good idea because it was pulling weird, and I didn't want to be going down a mountain pulling us off on the wrong side. So
that's a good idea.
I took it in, and they explained to me that there's a ridge forming. It would probably be okay, but going through the mountains, I didn't want to mess with that. So we had them put new brakes on it. And that only cost us.
Well, and rotors too.
Well, that's the part that had the ridge on it, the rotor.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. So
new brakes and rotors. And that was about $430 somewhere around there.
Yes.
Then, once we got into British Columbia, where our daughter lives, Gary had the mechanic check some things out there.
So you want to hear about this?
Yeah, I do.
I know. We're going through some of the mountains the last week or so. The motor wasn't running the best. It was kind of sluggish, but I didn't think it was that big a deal because we were in the mountains and we hadn't had the truck that long, so I really didn't know what to expect. Well, I thought, as long as we're there, we might as well get it checked out. And took it to a mechanic. They said it didn't have a tune-up, ever. So it was only $66,000 by this time. Mm-hmm. And so we had a tune-up, and that was to the tune of
$400. And part of that was because the plugs were rusted in, so it was a little more labor. So,
and that's Canadian, so it wasn't quite $400 American. It would have probably been $370-ish.
Yay!
Yeah.
Okay, are you keeping tally? If you're not, we'll let you know at the end. Okay, and then in California, Gary noticed that the serpentine belt was looking a little frayed, and we've had an issue with that once before with something we bought where serpentine belt broke, and I was driving. It was another vehicle, but yeah, that was quite the experience. So anyway, he thought we should get that replaced, and that cost us, I'm reading notes here, that cost us $220. But the big one...
Oh, yes, when they fixed the serpentine belt was replaced, and they gave me an estimate on some other things they just happened to find that were wrong with our our gem.
Well, we heard some noises, and I heard the noises, and whenever I hear a noise, it usually ends up being kind of an expensive repair. So I don't know if Gary just tunes it out because he doesn't want to have to face
there are times when you deal with the noises and other times when you can just roll with the noises. And we were rolling along with some noises that I was kind of aware of them, but I didn't know how bad they were. I just knew that when you're steering, it goes where you want it to. There's no flop in it, and everything is tight enough.
Yeah. Well, their estimate was $3,000.
And that would have been the front end, the suspension.
New ball joints, tie-up rod ends, Pitman arm, which I found out is what is the component that helps with the steering, and a few other things. We didn't get it fixed there because we were going to be moving to Rio Vista, where Gary was going to start serving a congregation in Vacaville for 3 months. So if you haven't seen the videos on any of these, we've got videos on quite a few of these things. After we moved, we met our hosts. We were parked on a ranch for those 3 months, and he had us talk to his neighbor who was a mechanic Bob.
Yep.
He was awesome.
So Bob took it into his shop and looked it over and gave us an estimate. I didn't tell him the things that we had a bid on at Citrus Heights. His wife is a secretary. She called the next day and was going through a list that was somewhat longer than the list we had in Citrus Heights, which to me meant it's going to cost more. And I'm thinking we're going over $3,000 now for repairs, and it's going to keep going higher, and I'm just getting sicker. And at the end of it, she said it's going to be $1,500. That's $1,500. And I almost said, yippee! But,
I've never been so happy to have a $1,500 repair.
Well, they felt bad about it, but I assured them that we would be happy with whatever it came out to be.
He did a great job, and we really are very grateful that we met him. So the total for all the repairs on the truck came to $4,850. Woohoo! But it's been running good since California. It should be. It's almost a new truck. We knew that the transmission had been repaired before we bought it because when we test drove it the first time, it was doing some really scary things. And so they had it checked out and they had that fixed. It is not a new transmission.
No.
But it's been repaired. And it was by a guy who's been doing transmissions and transmissions only for practically his whole business. And that's been decades. So we're really hoping that that's going to hang in there for a lot longer yet. It seems like a good solid truck. It's been pulling everything just fine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So as far as we know, the only thing that we need to do on it at some point, but not right away yet, is to get some new tires.
New tires, yes.
Yeah.
So those tires are probably getting close to the end of their lifespan.
Yeah.
So we'll have to do that in the next few months, I would guess, sometime before winter.
Okay.
So it continues.
Moving on to the RV. This one is going to be a little bit of a bright side. Just repeating what I said earlier, it was a 26 foot and it's 7 feet wide. We do not have any slide outs, and that's what we wanted. We did want to have slide outs, and finding an RV without slide outs nowadays is almost impossible. So this was absolutely a diamond in the rough. I mean, it was, out of all the RVs we looked at with water damage, that was very obvious. And just people not taking care of them and things looking kind of beat up. And this was just, as soon as we walked into it, it was like, this is home. And you just felt like this is it. We got $500 off the asking price, so we ended up paying $7,000 for it. We found out since then by several people who know a lot about RVs, and they've said, wow, that's all you paid for it. I mean, people have been very impressed. One person told us we could turn around and sell it for $10,000 right now. So we're not going to do that. So we've updated a few things, mostly for free or for very little cost. And if you've been watching our videos, you've seen a lot of those. One of them was the valances. Gary made wood valances. We took down the ugly fabric, outdated ones, and that you couldn't clean or wipe off, and they weren't neutral. And I wanted things to be clean and simple and something that I could clean easily. So anyway, we got some free, and then we bought more to match the boards that we got from a friend. So that was really awesome. And I mean, that really cost us so little. It was like
a little
awesome.
bit of paint and a few boards, and it's there.
Yep. And then the wood for the dinette seats, again, if that was quite the story if you haven't watched the video on that. But anyway, it's the dinette seats turned out great. They've been very comfortable. It's like sitting in a chair instead of on these cushions that go like this. And so we've been very happy with those. That was from salvaged wood and from a futon that was dumped. And we happened to stumble across it and find it and salvaged the wood and repurposed it. I made some slip covers for the back cushions of the dinette from a twin-size bed sheet that I had. I took all the wallpaper border off in the kitchen and the bathroom. It was starting to curl on the ends, and it was dark, and it was not neutral again, and it just was. I just wanted to get rid of it. So that was another video. Anyway, got rid of all that. That didn't cost anything. That was just labor. We paid very little to replace things like cone washers for the bathroom sink. We got new LED lights for everything. We aren't real happy with the brightness of them, but they were cheap, so I guess you get what you pay for.
Yeah.
We may,
work for a while.
yeah, we may upgrade a little better on some of those and get some brighter ones. We painted some things. A closet door, we showed a video on that. Painted the steps outside. Most of it was cosmetic updates or things that we chose to do, so we're not counting that in the expenses because they were so minimal anyway. Well, one of the things you did today was you replaced that doohickey thing outside.
Doohickey thing? The doohickey is on the back of the truck where the other thingamajig plugs into it for the trailer. And I'm pretty sure I got all the posts connected properly, and we'll find out tomorrow or the day after when we try to drive away if the trailer comes with us. I got the brakes connected properly, and if it doesn't come with us, then we'll have to undo it and reconnect the wires in the right order. Now, they did check them over, and I think they're good. I'm 99% sure.
We did do a little bit of a pull ahead kind of thing, and you said that you wouldn't be able to do that if...
That's what I said. Yep, so I'm going with that. Yep.
Okay, so hopefully that repaired it. But there is one more thing that needs to be done on this, and that is we had a bad switch that we could not find what was causing the fuses to keep blowing.
Yeah.
And Gary was doing the tester thing on different outlets and stuff. We could not figure out what was going on. Turned out it was a bad switch on an outside shower.
It's a great idea having a switch on the outside shower, but if you break the switch, it's a good idea to replace it or disconnect it. Well, unfortunately, it had not been disconnected and it was broke. So it was shorting out at that point. Since I disconnected it...
Oh, I fixed it. Remember? I was in the bathroom and I flipped the switch and something went and you went, oh. And then you figured out, somehow you figured out what it was that happened. And
so I didn't even have to deal with it because Orlean fixed it. Now it's all better. So that project still is there. One of the faucets was damaged. It didn't hold water very well anymore. So rather than having water spraying all over inside the compartments, I shut those off and plugged them. Now I ordered the valves to replace it. I got a new switch. I'll put that in, and God willing, we'll be ready to go.
It isn't something that we've even used yet as far as the outdoor shower, but there are situations where it's nice to have an outdoor shower. I could rinse my hair off outside instead of in here and putting water in the tanks and stuff like that.
Me too.
Yeah. Yeah. The biggest cost that we've had so far on the RV itself is just two things. One was new tires, and when he did that, the same mechanic in Rio Vista that we had fix the truck, he also did the work on the RV, and he put new tires on, and he did the brakes.
Yeah, he did the tune-up on the brakes and the bearings to make sure the bearings would be good.
And so that was $500 for all of that. Then we had the water damage repairs. If you haven't seen those videos, there's 4 of them. Talks about how we found the water damage. It was old water damage from before we bought it, and but it needed to be repaired. That could have cost anywhere from $2,000 to $3,000 if we had hired a repairman, an RV repairman, to do it. Fortunately, we were blessed to have found someone that only charged a very small amount per hour. We only needed him for the one day, cost $90, and then the materials were minimal, really, and the whole project cost about $200. So that was amazing. Okay, then we have some regular maintenance stuff, recaulking thing, just maintaining it and keeping things good and not falling apart. So altogether, we estimate that all the repairs and maintenance, in addition to the new tires and the water damage repair, everything, maybe $800, which is phenomenal. So we're very, very blessed to have had that as the bright spot compared to the truck.
Among the expenses that we have while we're traveling, the big one is the cost of gasoline. As we move further west from Wisconsin, the prices started climbing. And when we got to the west coast, we were paying somewhere around $3.50 to $4 a gallon. And then in British Columbia, if we had to buy gas up there, it was by the liter, and was $1.90 or $1.80 a liter, something like that, which comes out to about $5 or more a gallon. Canadian, of course. So we would only be paying something like $4.70 a gallon.
What a deal. We average about 10 miles to the gallon, which is really not terrible compared to some motorhomes that average anywhere from, we've heard some people say 8, even lower, 5 gallons. Yeah. Miles per gallon.
People will tell you the high mileage that they get. They don't like to tell you the low mileage so much. And if they do tell you low mileage, a lot of times it's higher than it actually is.
Yeah. So
when you're going against the wind and going up hills and towing things, they're not efficient vehicles, and they do burn a bit of gas.
If you haven't been tallying everything up, we'll do it for you. So here's the review in a nutshell. I'm reading this. We paid $14,400 for our truck and our home, and our budget was $15,000. Yay.
Yes.
We spent an additional $4,850 on the truck and $800 on the RV in repairs, maintenance, and upgrades. So we spent a grand total of for the truck and RV $20,050 for a tiny home that we can go anywhere we want and love it.
Enjoy it.
Yep.
Yes.
Plus gas and oil changes. But everybody has that. That's not just unique to a tiny home. So, yeah. We take our home with us everywhere we go, and we can sleep in our own bed every night. Now here's just a couple other little facts. We put on about 15,000 miles in the year, and we traveled through 17 states and 1 Canadian province. We stayed at only 7 campgrounds. Only 7 the whole year. 7 campgrounds for a total expense of $149. We had to put our home in storage while we were in BC because we were there for 3 months. We had it in storage for 2 of those 3 months, and we had to pay $180 for 2 months. It was $90 a month, right?
Oh, yes. And again, that was Canadian.
Canadian money, yes.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit less than that. We have a tiny home that can go anywhere we want. If we don't like the neighborhood, we move. If we don't like the weather, we move. If we don't like the scenery, we move. We don't have any lawns to mow, rake, shovel. What else do you do with lawns? I forgot. It's been a while. I mean, we don't have any maintenance on anything like that. Our backyard is whatever we want it to be, and it can be pretty awesome at times. I mean, really awesome. My camera died. Yay. So we're finishing up on my phone. We church docked at a lot of different churches that we went to. We stayed in BLM land, which is Bureau of Land Management land. We stayed in a few Walmarts, not very many, and a few driveways of friends and family. People have said, well, yeah, you use their electricity and everything. Well, yeah, but we have LED lights. We are very conservative with how much we use, and people have told us they didn't even know we were there when they got their bills. So that is so minimal.
Yeah. It's worked out very well.
Yeah, and we don't have to use electricity. We can. We'll tell you more about that in the next video on some things that we're making improvements on. But so you'll just have to watch that. Anyway, we stayed wherever we could for free, basically, and if we stayed in any retail parking lots, we always asked the store if we could do that. We asked for permission. And it was funny, even at some of the churches, they said, we have people stay here all the time, but they've never asked permission. It's like, wow. So don't do that.
Yeah.
That's not nice.
Yeah, the casinos even, we'd call ahead just to make sure they allowed that and where we were to go. And any of the stores, if we ran into a situation where a Walmart wasn't available or another store,
there was
Rite Aid.
Rite Aid, yeah. And
one Rite Aid drugstore
Safeway, Cabela's.
Yeah, so there's all kinds of options. And we stayed at a Costco in BC.
Yes.
That was
freecampsites.net.
Yeah.
If you've been watching our channel, you know I mention that a lot. We have had really good luck finding things through that website. It's a free website too, so that's really nice. Just wrapping things up here because this is getting really long. We didn't want it to get too long. We did not buy a newer truck or RV because, first of all, that does not guarantee you're not going to have problems. We know that. And we only had $15,000 to work with because we wanted to pay cash. We did not want to take out a loan or anything like that for our home. And so that's all we had to work with, and we really don't regret doing that.
No, it's worked out very well for us. And
the truck.
We're open to the idea of a trade down the road here, but
anybody got a truck you want to give us?
Not in a big rush. It still works, so it's good. And
we love our home. We love our tiny home. I am so happy to have this house. I don't think I could ever move into a big house again, ever. We just really love so much about it. So we'll be sharing more on that later too.
So all in all, it's been a good year, as you can probably tell. We've enjoyed most of it. We're grateful for all the blessings we have been given and been able to share, and all the people we've met, experiences we've had. We'll get to talk a little bit more about some of that
next time.
In our next.
We have met so many people.
Wonderful people.
Wonderful people. Yeah. We've been very blessed. If you have any questions or comments, just leave them below. And in our next video, part 2, we're going to share with you what we learned our first year, what things we're going to change for our second year, what our plans were, because they've already changed. So you're just going to have to tune into that one and find out what's happening with us. Anyway, please give this video a big thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button down below. Ring that little bell next to it, and then you will be notified every time a new video is up. And check out our Facebook page, Roads of Faith. Until next time,
God bless.
God bless.